One of these days, this thing will work without crashing. But it's not today. Yes. But it's now saying it's okay. So I shall wait the obligatory 30 seconds, get the nod from you and say, hello, everybody.
Oh, Graham's.
Oh, Graham's early. Early Graham. Right, where's the chat? Where's the chat?
Right, you're on.
I'm on and I'm alive. Way.
I'll send the...
Good evening, everybody.
And I'll send the...
Oh, that's a nice name. Sweetie. Like that. Carl, how are you, dear boy? Don't scare us like that. Frightening, frightening stuff. Can we just say happy birthday for last week?
Happy birthday to you.
You'll be glad Mike's not close to the microphone. He's now singing.
Happy birthday to you.
Ah, right.
Birthday, dear Carl.
Right, I am now in the chat. I am saying hello in the chat. Marvellous. Oh, isn't it wonderful when it all works? Not really been my experience of tech this week, but hey, how's everybody else's week been? Tell us all about it. I want to know all about your week. Graham's had excitement, haven't you, Graham? As have I, to be perfectly honest. New toys. Oh, it's been a good week for new toys. Good to hear, Carl. Very, very good to hear. You see, everybody's wishing you a happy birthday now. We'll just move it by a week. It'll be fine. We know you finished it after Good Reader. You're going to get severely reprimanded for that. You absolutely are. Right. Now, can I jiggery-pokery this? Oh, don't get me giddy. Don't get me giddy. I'm trying to make sure that they can see my screen. Because it's 9 o'clock already. How did this happen?
We were late logging in.
We were late logging in?
Yeah, because it crashed.
It did. It does it every time. It gets me to the point where it says, do you want to preview the stream? And I, like a fool, say yes. And it says, bye.
Excel crashed on me tonight.
Keynote has crashed on me all night. I can get Keynote to crash at will with a file that I needed because I needed to extract a slide from it. So it's been one of those nights. However, I'm going to share my screen and you are going to see it briefly while I head across to the other side and get the presentation going. No, I'm not. I'm lying. I need my Camtasia, so I'm out again because I've not pressed record. And if I don't do that, Mike gets very upset with me.
Me?
Oh,
I just messed up my
bad.
Notion.
Did you mess up your Notion?
I tried to pinch and zoom and I ended up moving a bullet point.
I was going to make a comment then. Mind you, it is an after hours, so I could if I wanted. I thought you said motion. No. Too much information.
Yes, people might be eating.
Too much information. No, we eat later. Right, so tonight, what have we got?
Are we starting?
We are.
Right.
Oh, do you want to say hello and welcome and all that business? And
hello,
who we are?
Welcome. My name's Mike and I'm here with my co-host.
He seems to have forgotten who I am. I'm Elaine.
Are you?
Yes, I'm still Elaine. No shopping with Elaine. Not been doing that business. Although, now you come to mention it before we go any further. Guess what happened, gang?
What happened?
It's sort of a mini shopping with Elaine. What left these shores for repair? My iPhone.
Yes.
Yeah, and guess what came back? My iPhone, all fixed. No issue. Like, what? So, that was a pretty short shopping with Elaine.
Yeah.
All was well.
For a change.
That's like a new phone. So good is it? I'm thinking of getting the 7 done. It's worth the 79 quid, I would have thought. I'd definitely do it again. Let's put it like that.
You're going to make another phone call to Apple?
No, I have to gear myself up for that for like a year. So tonight we are looking at social media posts. Mike's made some social media posts, apparently. So we're going to look at that. Then we're going to look at mail management. Now, I got a mail about this. That's a bit meta, isn't it? Mail management in Notion. You wanted to know what I did, because last week all I did was drag and drop and say, so there you go. Tonight I'll show you how I built it, how we use it, and I'm actually going to take some mails from Scrivener and do all of that. Yes, Graham, it was my 6 Plus. It was done under the battery repair programme, so it only cost me 25 quid, plus postage, as I'm sure you're now aware.
£3.44. No, £7.44.
£7.44. It was £32.44p. Should have been able to have it done in store, but I wouldn't trust them with my phone anyway. Might as well send it back to somebody who knows what they're actually doing with it. It came back. I think it was fully charged when it arrived. And it's actually taking it like 2.5 days to run down now. So I'd forgotten what it was like to have a new battery. So it has made an absolutely massive difference. The price has now gone up to... Was it 35 quid?
Something.
No, £45.
£45.
It's now £45, but to be honest, it's worth it. I would say go for it even at £45. Right, so, yeah, and while we're looking at Notion gets a clipper this week. So how does it match up with the Evernote clipper and the OneNote clipper and the DevonThink clipper? Well, we're going to have a look, and then you'll be as wise as I am. Then we're going to look at an Affinity Designer to Affinity Publisher workflow, which I needed for real. It was all your fault. I needed to see if that could work for real. So I'm using a real file. I've taken the file back to the state it was in when I found it, and I'm going to take it through the publisher workflow and let you see all of that. So that's the plan for the night, along with a lot of frivolity and fun. But we're starting off with social media posts, which is Mike.
If you pass me the keyboard.
I'm getting there. I've got to get your screen on my screen and all of that business. Because we want to turn off the toolbar, really, don't we? Hide toolbar. That's better. Then we can see more of your screen.
Okay.
Much improved. And now you want my keyboard and mouse, don't you?
Unless you drive the demo.
No, it's fine.
Right.
Why don't you just sit where I sit? That'll work better.
You move on.
I can just about sit.
Right. I'm going to do something Mac related today, for a change.
Oh, you know what I haven't done, don't you?
What?
You're going to love this. Oh.
What?
Oh. Well, I just hid the toolbar. This is why you shouldn't do tricks like this. Because I'd locked myself out because of last week. I started fiddling, didn't I?
Oh,
I got into trouble for it. So what I thought I'd do was hide the toolbar, but then you can't control the thing.
Right.
Right, as you were.
Can I control it now? Yeah, I'm going to do something on the Mac, although it is still Excel related. If you follow MacBites on Twitter, I'm sure some of you do, you may have seen some tweets go out on Wednesday and Thursday. And those tweets were actually scheduled rather than just me going into Tweetbot and creating the tweets. And the way we, excuse me, shouldn't have had those nuts before we started, should I? Yeah, the way we do it is we use a service called Hootsuite, and it lets you schedule your posts to various social networks. So things like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and more. And what it does is it lets you schedule up to 350 messages at a time by uploading them into or by putting them into a CSV file and then uploading the CSV file. The CSV file contains details of the tweet, so the date, the time, the content. You can't include images in the CSV, but you can actually add those images afterwards. If you're not sure what a CSV file is, it's a plain text file. It's got data in it. It's organized into columns and rows. I guess it's a bit like a spreadsheet, but without the grid lines. And so each entry, each tweet is on a separate line, and then each element within that tweet, the date, the time, the content, is separated by a comma, hence the name CSV, comma separated values. Now you can create a CSV file in a number of ways. You can do it in a text editor, or you can do it with Excel. You just save as Excel, and that's what I'm going to do here. To give you a bit of background, I've got a number of tweets. I'm not going to tweet stuff for MacBites. I'm going to tweet for something else. I've got a number of tweets that I need to post at various times during the next 2 or 3 days. And they relate to the 61st anniversary of the Munich air crash. Now, Elaine and I, we're big Man United fans. And in 1958, for those of you that don't know, in 1958, the aeroplane that was carrying the team home from a match crashed in Munich. And 23 people on board died, including 8 players. So 19 years ago, we set up a website in tribute called munich58.co.uk. And every year on the 6th of February, which is the anniversary of the crash, we organise and host a remembrance event at Old Trafford, which is attended by over 1,000 people. But we need to get the word out on social media. So I've built this tweet scheduler, Hootsuite tweet scheduler, using Excel. Now, you can use it for any Twitter account. I'm just going to do it for the Munich one. What I've done is I've created this tool which automates the creation of CSV. It was actually built for a specific purpose. It was built to schedule tweets at specific times across multiple days. So if you look at it, you can see that you specify a start date. So I'm going to specify the 4th of February as the start date, because that's the first date that I want it to tweet. And the 6th of February, is it the 6th? Or is it the 5th? That's the 6th, yeah, the ones I'm doing today. 6th of February 2019. Hootsuite can handle 2 different date formats. So I've programmed it to let you choose the one you want. And I'm going to use day, month, year. I've set it up as well so that you can say yes or no about tweeting on a particular day. Because when I originally built it, I wanted it, as I said, for a specific purpose, and I needed the functionality to be there to exclude certain days. I didn't want to tweet maybe on the weekends, so you could just put an N against Saturday and an N against Sunday. I'm just going to leave them exactly as they are, because even though my dates 4 to the 6th don't go over 7 days, it'll ignore anything that's outside those date ranges anyway. And I want to tweet at 10 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I want to do 2 tweets per day, 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But you know, if you wanted to tweet on the hour every hour for a week, you're doing a whole load of tweets, you can do that just by putting all the times in. The maximum number of characters, I did actually hard code that into the formula originally. Then I decided it would be easier and better to put it as a variable, just in case Twitter ever changed the maximum number of characters again. So once you've set that up, once you've set up your start date, your end date, your date format, and the days and the times, I will create the schedule. I've also given the ability to retweet a username. So as an example, if I was tweeting a whole bunch of tutorials from my Excel Trainer account, and then I wanted to retweet them from me, I could set this up and put in the Thomas Michael, well, no, put in the Excel Trainer as the retweet username, and that would automatically add the RT, the Excel Trainer, at the beginning. But if I click Create Schedule, what that does is it tells me the dates and times are set up, and you can type in your tweets. It takes me to the input sheet, so you can see at the bottom there's 3 tabs, and it's now set up the dates, the times. It's joined together the dates and times, and then I need to add in the actual tweet text. I've got formula in column H to calculate how many characters are left. So that will keep a track of how many characters I've typed or how many characters I've got left. And what I'm going to do is open up this text file. Here's one I've prepared earlier, as they say, and just do a little bit of copying and pasting. So that's the first one there. So that's February the 4th at 10 o'clock, which is that one. And then the next one is February the 4th at 2 o'clock. That's that one. I'm only doing a few copying and pasting, so don't worry, I'm not going to be doing it all night for you. February the 4th, February the 5th at 2 o'clock. And February the 6th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Oops, what have I done there? That's better. Oh, I missed something out there. Let's try that again. February the 6th at 10. That's better. And that one there. Something you do need to be aware of is that it will not allow you to schedule duplicate tweets, because obviously that could be seen as spamming. So what I've done is just slightly amended each tweet. So I've got like there 6th of February and 6th Feb and Feb 6th and so on. Okay. And then I've got the word tomorrow there. So once I've set all those up, I'll go back to the setup sheet, click on tidy up CSV sheet, which just removes any extra characters that we don't particularly want. And then go and click save as CSV. So what this does, this automates you having to go file, save as, and save as a CSV. Save as CSV. There we go. So what it does is it then shuts that file down. It has automatically saved it. Just need to go and find that file. And there it is. There's the CSV file. So if I open that up, I can open that up with, I'll use BBEdit, use any text editor. Okay, so there's the CSV file, just so you can see what it looks like. What I now need to do is get that into Hootsuite. So I've gone into Hootsuite. I've already logged into Hootsuite. And these are things to do with that Munich account. So I'll click onto the scheduling button, and then I'll click the scheduling button again, and I'll go to this bulk composer, which they have. Select the file to upload. So I need to go and find my CSV file. There it is. I don't want to shorten any hyperlinks, not that I've got any hyperlinks in there. And I want to post to my Munich Twitter account. Then click review messages. So what it does is it shows me the actual text of the message here. I only did 5 or 6. I can preview them. As I said, what it doesn't do is it doesn't allow me in the CSV file to actually upload any images, but I have got some images that I will use. So for this first one here, go back to edit, select a file to upload, and go to my desktop. Where's my desktop gone? Can't find my desktop. There's my desktop. And just choose that image there, and it uploads it. And then for this one, I can do the same thing. Pick a different image if I want. I'm going to repeat these images because I've only got 3 images to select from. That one there. And so on and so on. How many have I done? I've got 2 more to go. Let's use that one. And let's do that one there. So they all got... no, they haven't.
You're lying to yourself.
Yeah, I thought they all had images, right. Let's just pick a couple more images. Okay, so they've all got images now. Again, if I pick one and preview, that shows me what it will look like. And when I'm happy with it, I'll select them all and click Schedule Selected. And they are now scheduled. So if I now return back to my streams, it should now show me, if I go to the Munich Twitter feed, I've now got all of them scheduled. Ooh, that was the wrong way around.
That's great on its side.
How did that happen? I'll go and sort that out afterwards. I can go and edit these once I've scheduled them. The ones that are already there with the Never Forgotten, they were scheduled earlier this morning. But now they're ready, they're sitting there, and I can just sit back and let them be tweeted, let them go live at the appropriate time. So hopefully you've found that useful, how I schedule tweets. Okay.
Yes, I'm replying to Carl.
Oh, right. Okay. I presume Carl is...
I'm thinking Liverpool.
I'd say Liverpool. He could be Wrexham. He lives in Wales. Does Carl live? No, Carl lives in Blackpool.
It's not Blackpool because they're orange.
It's Patrick that lives in Wales, isn't it? I'll go for Liverpool.
I'll go for Liverpool.
Yeah.
I've just
go on,
replied
Carl.
to that.
I reckon it's...
There's 30-second delay. So while you're sitting there, Carl hasn't even heard what you've said yet. Let's get that squeaky chair sorted.
Yeah.
Right, that saved a ton of time this week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has saved a ton.
And we've actually got some MacBites to tell you about. That's what we've been doing. We've been using that to tell you about it. Carl. Funny you should mention tragedy. When I was a lawyer, yes, I was a lawyer. Frightening, isn't it? One of my first forays out of the office, trusted alone. I should say my chosen field of expertise was medical negligence, and apparently I had a good temperament for it. Yeah, no tolerance for it, to be honest. But in terms of interviewing, I would say survivors, but people who were claiming, enjoy is the wrong word, but I could do it because I got the bit between my teeth and I was prepared to fight to the death. For my clients, and they wanted me to interview witnesses, and nobody else wanted to do it. They were saying it was far too. You're still on my screen here, piddling, right? Oh, right. Well, I'll put it back then. Oh, you're cropping it.
No, I'm trying to twist it round. I'm trying to turn it round.
Just move that down a bit so you can get that there. That looks fine. I'd say up a fraction, but no, that'll do. So I was sent out to the office to do interviews, and they were harrowing. And the people that I was interviewing were survivors and witnesses of the Hillsborough tragedy. And because I knew football, because I'd been going to football since I was a kid, you got all these lawyers there with like, oh, Carstairs, that can't have happened really, can it? Oh, dear, dear me. And I was like, yeah, of course it can. And I got all these plans out and I'm busy drawing all over it. And we won. We won compensation for all of those people. So I like Liverpool too. I'm one of these odd United fans. I've got a real soft spot for Liverpool. Been through a lot. So yes, we've both seen tragedy. Right, I'm getting rid of you now. You're going away. You've gone. You've gone. Right, so what was I doing? Is that my iPad or yours?
I'm not sure.
No, it's one of mine. It's the wrong one, though. So many iPads, so little time. No, I have got an iPad here with an iPad pencil, with a pencil on it and stuff. Right, okay. So I promised we would have a look at mail management in Notion. Now, this was all to do... Let's get Chrome up. There it is. This was all to do with this last week. And all I was able to show you last week, because last week was chaotic, wasn't it? Last week was how we publish a show. Who knew it was so long? When we do it, it takes sort of 5-10 minutes. But when you're trying to explain it and you're showing what the app does, it takes a lot longer. So in here, all we had time to do was say, there it is, and I put it here. So tonight I'm actually going to show you how I built it and what it can do, because you could use this for anything you wanted to do. It's just a database within Notion. So this is the system that I've got, and how I built it. It's off straight off our dashboard, which is pages that Mike and I share. So you'll see down here we've got workspaces, and we've got the 5 areas that we work on together, and it's within our dashboard area. It's also one of my favourites. You don't stop that chair squeaking, I'll stop it for you. You've been warned. So I've got it as one of my favourites because I need access to that pretty regularly as I'm going in and out and scheduling things. So let me move back, because last week this was where we were. This was January, And we've sent out all of these mails. And what I was able to show you was, which one was it we did? It would be the 26th, wouldn't it? It was that one that I did. And what I was showing you was how I get the mail in here to transfer it to Mike. And all I did was drag and drop that in there and say, right, I'm done. So I'll show you a little bit more how I actually built this. And how I actually built it was, I'm thinking of the best way to show you. If I go up to the Mail Manager, I should be able to get underneath the Mail Manager. And all I did to create the whole thing was create a new page. Once I've got a page, it lets me choose what type of content I want for that page. No, actually, I'm lying to you. I'm lying to you. That was what I did, but I didn't do it from this bit here. No, let me get rid of that. I actually embedded it in here, didn't I? So I need to get rid of this page. I embedded it into here, so I'll get rid of that and we'll do that again. What I did was create an inline something. Now, all of these are databases, be it a table, a board, a gallery, a calendar, a list, doesn't matter. They are all databases. In fact, you can switch between them at will. Now, obviously for this one, it made sense to have it as a calendar. And there may well be other data that you have in a table or a board that does have a date on it and you would like a calendar view of it. And you can do that. But obviously I started with a calendar and it creates that for you straight away. And then it's simplicity's sake to add something. So I just go to there, I add whatever that is. So this could be a new mail. And you'll see here I've got tags and a date. So obviously I made a couple of changes to mine, but you can add properties at will and then my mail goes in this area underneath. So it's that simple to create it. So that wasn't painful, was it? So I'm going to delete that now. Now you've seen how it's created. Let's go back to the one I had earlier. That was all I did. But you can add views to it. So I created a view that was a table view. So if I click on that, I've got all the mail by date, newest at the top. You'll notice some of these aren't even out yet. Look at this, after hours 14, 2 weeks away. But it's in a table view. So I've got a more, I prefer a table view for a big overview, but I can see the benefit of having this one as a calendar because these are being sent out by day. So it makes sense to have a calendar view. But sometimes I only want to see the MacBites mail. So these are MacBites mails. Sometimes I only want to see my VIP mails. They're my VIP mails. You'll notice in this view, when you look at the mails, so these 3 VIP mails, they don't say VIP list. And what I mean by that is if I go back to the calendar view, each entry had 3 fields and one of them was the list view. That wasn't there by default. I actually had to go into that, and in the properties, you can toggle on and off things, and I toggled on and off the list. So it was as simple as that to add the list, and it made sense to add the list when I've got more than one list showing, and obviously in the calendar view I did have, and that's why I turned it on. So this one here today, yet again, Mike hasn't updated it, so I'll do it for him. This one went out just before we went live. So obviously there were 2 elements to this that wasn't on that one that I just created for you. I added a status and a list. Now the list has 2 lists in it, but it could have more lists in it. We've got more lists. And then there's a status, and the status is not started, which it's most of the time. There's a lot in there that are not started. Then underneath that, there's in progress. That's when I'm writing it. Then there's ready to send. That's when it is ready to send, and it's added in here. Then there's a status of in Aweber draft, and that's when Mike's taken it and scheduled it in Aweber. At which point, well, no, it's a draft in Aweber, isn't it, Mike? Because there's also an option for when it's scheduled and then when it's sent. Now, obviously, Mike seems to have an inability to keep this thing up to date. He will be reprimanded later. I'm going to change that to sent because that one's actually gone. And that's the entire process for it. So all I need to do for future mails is get them in here. Doesn't that sound simple? It sounds very simple. Now, if you're a genuine MacBiter in here, are you excited yet? Have you spotted something? Have you spotted dates? Have you spotted MacBite shows? Should I just draw a big circle around them just in case you missed them? Now, can I just caveat this with, we've got a heck of a busy weekend this weekend. And if that one on the 4th happens, it'll be a miracle. But that's the plan. We plan a lot, don't we, Mike? Yeah. We will endeavour to see it happens, but if we all have our fingers crossed, you never know, it might actually happen. So that's the Notion end of this. But how does the stuff get ready for Notion? I know, Graham, another show. It's frightening. In fact, if you look there, there's 2 of them. Scary, scary beans. I would say 117's half ready. But we've got some stuff that we've got to wrap up from before. Do you remember when we started the great calendar move? It's still progressing. So we thought an update. But possibly Christmas might be more realistic on that. We'll have to wait and see. So, before we get into Notion, we need to get into Scrivener. And in Scrivener, we need the email generator. And this was where half the magic happened, if you remember. Oh, that looks pretty nice. We can see everything we need to see in there. Right, how I do this in here is all my MacBites mails were in my mails. And we know when the after hours are. So there's one a week on Saturday. There's another one 2 weeks on Friday. Then we've got a Friday one. Then we've got a Saturday one. And then we've got a Friday one. So we've got 5 that we know are coming up. Now, these mails that we're looking at, if I just widen that column so you can actually see it, because my screen's very small here. These are the reminder mails. Now, if you look at the content of the reminder mails, they're all the same. It just says, we're live now. Here's a green button. Click that. You're done. If you need to copy the link, there's the link. You're done. And that's it. So all of these mails are the same, apart from the poster and the links. So because of that, I am able to create those 5 mails in hand. Now, as you saw last week, there's a lot of moving parts to getting a MacBites out. And now, of course, in the midst of that chaos, we've added in the after hours. So anything I can do to work in hand saves time and gets the job done. And this is the process that I've put in place in here. So because those 5 are ready to go, now, if we look at them, they're green dots, and we have some peachy colours here. If I just move that in a bit and we look across here, these are ready to schedule. They are ready for me to put them in a system for Mike to work with. And that's what I'm about to do. So what I am about to do is export one of them, compile one of them. So we might as well make it the first one, which is the 13th. And to compile, I go to File, Compile. I never do it that way. I use Command, Option and E, but there you go. And the magic of this is in the project format on the left, which I've used before, but I've not shown you what's in it. Tonight, I'll show you what's in it. I've had questions. How on earth do you make it do that, basically? Because if you remember, there was like 600 and odd lines of code. Where does that come from? It's magic. It's in there. So I'll just compile this one and we can have a look at that. Now this one is, we want this on the desktop and it's going to go on the 9th, isn't it? So 2019-02 and it's on Saturday, so it's the 9th. And it is after hours and it must be, because today is 12/13, and it is the reminder. And I'm going to make sure the HTML extension is applied to it and export it. And it was as simple as that, if you recall. If I just hide that, what we get is this folder. And what we get in the folder is the mail. And the reason that the graphic is not there is because I have not uploaded it, but everything else is there. So one thing I need to do, let's make that a little bit bigger, is open a new tab and go to my S3 newsletter assets. And in here, I've got the graphic. Take the graphic over there. It adds the graphic at the top. When the purple icon disappears, we get a blue icon. Let's just have a look at that. Oh, it's disappeared. So it's that fast because it's only a few K. Once it's up there and alive, I can then right click on it and make it public. That should solve the problem of it not being there when I preview it. Now it's alive. Right, so we're all ready with that one. That one's ready to go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave actually adding them into Notion until I'm adding them all into Notion. So I will move that out of the way and go back into Scrivener, because this time as I do it, I'll show you what's inside that compile. So this one, 13, is now not ready to schedule. It's, oh, where is it ready to schedule? It should be scheduled. I'm wondering why that isn't appearing in there. Let's have a look. Ready to schedule. It's not sent. It's not sent. I shall worry about that in a moment. And maybe I'm hoisted by my own petard. And what I probably haven't done here is taken the statuses back from Notion into Scrivener. But it's the next one. It's 14. Let's compile 14. So I'm using my Command, Option and E. And I said the magic was in this MacBites mail compile setting over here. So to get into that, if you right click it and click Edit, this is the compile setting. Now, it can either look terrifying or quite simple, sort of, well, where's all those lines of code? Depending on how you look at it. Now, the ones that I need to show you are the section layouts. Now, a section is part of your Scrivener document, and you can have different section layouts. So each section can have a completely different layout. So if there is, I want a section that's my chapter number, then that is what it's going to look like. If I want my chapter number and my text, that is what it's going to look like. Now, mine here is just a text section. And that's all I'm concerned with here. So once I've got my section selected, I put a tick in the box for the content I want included. I don't want the title, because the title is this bit across the top on the left-hand side. I don't want the metadata. That's all of this stuff down the right-hand side. I don't want the synopsis. That's the bit at the top on the right-hand side, in this case in a peachy colour. And I don't want the notes. That's the yellow bit. Don't want any of that. What I just want is the text, which is the bit behind here that you've seen. Oh, Carl, it's not that terrifying, surely. There's just a lot of it. Most of it you can ignore. I only need to talk you through 4 of these sections. The others are totally irrelevant. I'm not using them at all. And this one's only really to say, I have a section layout. It's called text section, and I only want the text. The rest, irrelevant. I can just ignore it all. As long as I've got that in there and one tick in a box, I'm good to go on. For example, separators. Don't care. Not interested. Not in the slightest bit interested, because I will only ever be compiling one item. So I'm not interested in sections at all. Styles, I would say, is a tinge on the tricky side, but only in concept. We have seen that this mail has got a green button in it. We can actually see it here. Join us right now. That's a button when it comes out in the mail. It's not a button now, but it's a button when it actually comes out in the mail. In fact, I might be able to show you that, unless I've deleted them, which I don't think I did. Oh, I might have done. Let me go and have a look. MacBites. We sent out a mail just before this session started, and that's the mail. So let me bring that over. Oh, you don't want to see my calendar, do you? You definitely don't want to see that. That's what the mail looks like when it's sent. So the button looks like that in the middle, and then we have the link underneath it. So that is what we're interested in, that button. How does that happen? Well, actually, that button isn't really a physical button. It's not, if you've ever done any coding in an application that has objects in it, you add a button to a page like VB, VBA, Swift, anything like that, that isn't really a button. What it is some text with a solid green background And what makes it a button, massive air quotes, is when I hover over it, I get a different pointer. And all of that comes from CSS. So, in here I have styles. I have amber and green and red. And obviously it's the green that we're interested in. Green buttons. Now, all that's doing, my inline green button there, I hook it up to a style. So I have a style in Scrivener called button green inline. And when I export that, which in this case says just join us right now, it's styled up with that style in here. That's what gives it the green background. But that's useless in CSS. It's useless in HTML. So over here, they're tiny little fields, but if I click in it and move it across, that is HTML in there. And it's saying span, which means wrap the text, join us right now, in a class called button green inline. That's what it puts before the text. And after it, it puts another span on, which says stop doing that. So this little bit turns it on, this bit turns it off. And that's what makes that text come out white on a green background. Now, you might be thinking, well, okay, but where is button green inline defined? We'll see that in a moment. But all of these do the same thing. A code block wraps it in code tags, and a comment that lets me ignore it. I have a heading 1 that wraps it in H1 tags, a heading 2 wraps it in H2. You get the idea. You will have seen on some of the mails we send out that there is a yellow highlight. And there you go, yellow highlight. All it does is say from this point on, apply the class, highlight, yellow, and then turn it off. And again, that is defined in the CSS. So we'll move on now. That's the styles. I have a style in Scrivener that I use this dialog to marry with a CSS style. Simple as that. Now, what I've tended to do is try and call them something similar, if not identical. And that way it makes it easier to do. But if, for instance, I wanted to add a highlight in, what other colours have we got? Purple. I wanted a purple highlight. Just defining it in the CSS will do no good. Just defining it in Scrivener will do no good. I need to define it at both ends. So I create a style in Scrivener, highlight dash purple. I create a style in CSS, highlight purple, and I use this dialog to link them together. So the next one that I'm interested in is the text layout. This is the business bit. This is where all those hundreds and hundreds of lines are. Don't worry about it being code. We can ignore it. But I will point out a few things. Here's the title, MacBites. So obviously I do need different compile settings for every list because they're going to look different. This bit at the top, when it exports it, it takes the bit in the top box and puts it before the content of the mail, which is the bit here behind this box. And this bit at the bottom, it takes that and it puts that after this mail here. So if we were to look at this, you would see that there is a sign off. And what it does is pull in a graphic called Signature the MacBites Crew, 200 pixels by 24 pixels, and it puts it in the mail. Because you may have noticed, but when you're looking at the mail in here, there's no signature, there's no sign off. The sign off comes from the code. So let's go back and have a look at this top bit. This is where the magic actually happens. This is where the CSS is defined. So there's the sign off, which is that signature, but we're not interested in that. What we're interested in is all the highlights that we looked at. So let's go and find the highlight and see where they are. And as you can see, there is pages and pages. We checked last time, there was hundreds of lines of code. But once it's defined and we don't need to think about it. There you go, there's the buttons. So there is button green. That is the CSS that makes that text, join us right now, look like a button. It takes the text decoration away, in other words, don't underline it, changes the colour to white, changes the background colour to green, it puts some spacing around it, it makes the font bold, it puts the margin on the right to 10 pixels and the text aligned to the centre. That's the bit there, cursor, pointer, that gives you the hand when you hover over it, so you can click. Then it makes it an inline block, which means everything else wraps around it, and then it sets the margins to automatic, which puts it in the middle. There's a little tiny bit there that makes the link work. So button green A, that makes the link work. And the rest are just different colours for red buttons and all kinds of different buttons. Now, what was the one we were interested in? Highlights. As luck would have it, if only I could spell, because that's missing a H. There we go. Now it's back in. Right, we have highlight blue. And all it does is change the background colour to blue. That is the hex value for blue. Highlight light green. There's the light green. Light orange, light pink, light yellow. They're all in there. And then the last line says, OK, the content's coming next. And that's what comes out of Scrivener. Then, at this end, you have the sign-off, which is all the stuff that's needed after, including the printed in Hong Kong at the bottom, which is there. MacBites headquarters and the address. So that's where all the lines of code come from. Now, it looks horrific. I can assure you, creating this for the first time was horrific. But now it's a doddle. So I said to Mike, I'm going to give this 20 minutes and try something when Scrivener 3 came out, because Scrivener 2 would have choked on all of that. I said, I'm going to do 20 minutes and see if it can do it. So I did a little bit of a proof of concept and it worked. And I said, okay, now I'm going to take like a week to sort the real code out and put the whole lot in. But after that, I swear to you, it will save time. And it does. It saves a ton of time. Now, the other two things to look at, no, we've done three, haven't we? We've done section layout, styles, and text layout. The last one is markup, which is there. Now, this one's needed for the links and the images. So if it comes across a link that it finds in the text in Scrivener, it refers to it as URL. So $URL, and it's actually in angle brackets as well. That's a link in Scrivener. So basically, as it iterates through this file, every link it finds, that is the code it wraps around the link, and that is what makes it clickable. If there are internal links, it wraps those with what it calls a bookmark. But that's still a work in progress, believe you me. Now, the interesting part is it replaces images it finds with text. So when you see me put an image in here, you might think, well, it exports it. We can see it on the desktop in the folder. It does. That's so I can upload it. What it actually does on the export is delete the image and replace it with this text, which is the HTML code to show an image, followed by the URL of the image, which is why you see me put it in newsletter assets. And there is the file name that it does pick up from Scrivener, and it applies a style to it, which makes it 100% wide. And that's it. It's those 4 bits. Me explaining it now, it seems so easy. But there was a lot of trial and error to get it to that point. So that was the magic that was behind. Let's come out of there and cancel that. That was the magic that was behind the project formats. And all of these other project formats do a very similar job, but the mail comes out looking very different. Because obviously Mike's Excel trainer mail is green, and my VIP mail is sort of a mauvey colour. And Slide IQ is black. So they look different, but the principle is exactly the same. So I'm going to compile this one to be the 14 reminder. 14, which is going out, when is the 4th? On the 15th. So 15th, and save that to the desktop. And I'm just going to do this exactly the same with the others, just so you can get a feel for just how fast it is. I don't need to think about this. That one is 15, and it is going out. When's 15 going out? 15's going out on the 1st of March. So all I'm doing is actually changing the file name at the end. The rest of it, I'm not touching it. Now I've done it, I don't need to touch it anymore, apart from to fix that typo. Yes, but I've fixed that now, so again, don't need to touch it. So the 16th show is going out on the 9th, from my memory, because I've been working on this very hard today and they're all etched in my brain at the moment. And the last one that we have currently scheduled, don't worry, we've got more, is 17, and that is going out on the 15th. There we go. And that's it for the Scrivener end. I've got all that. So these are all my files. So first thing I need to do at this point is open each one of them and upload my graphic. So 14, 15, 16 and 17. There we go. Now, I would be good with these. Oh, come on, don't start. I only asked you to close a window. It's not rocket science. You're having a rare think about it, are you? Well, it's uploading it. So we know that 13's okay, but 14, 15, 16 and 17, when it's finally finished playing around, please don't crash, needs the property setting to public. So we do need to do that. Well, while it's having a think about it, hopefully... There's nothing that's caused that, is there? Oh, no, it's all right. It's sprung to life. So 14, make public. 15, make public. 16, make public. And 17, make public. Which means if we were to just randomly pick one and preview it, there should be an image. Woohoo, there's an image. So all of that is working fine. What do we need to do next? We need to go back into Chrome, and I'm going to move that a little bit so I can see the folder over here, so I can click on them. Right, first one. Where's the first one? The 9th, that's it. It's this one, and this one is going on the 9th, which is there. After hours 13, that exists. So because it exists within the Mail Manager, I just need to drag and drop it in. That's me done. But it isn't not started, it's ready to send. At this end, it's ready to send. So that's up to Mike to deal with that. I'm leaving alone the 117, 118 shows. But we do have here one on the 15th, which is 14, which is this one. And all I have to do is drag and drop all these mails in here, and then as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with them all. Now, at some point, I'm going to come a cropper, which I now have, which is the one to go out on the 1st of March. Let's move to March. There's nothing there. So I can't just drag and drop it, can I? Nice try. Let's lose this window and lose that window. Open up the 1st of March. Get that out of the way. No, I don't want you on the other screen. I want you on here. Right, so 1st of March. All I need to do is click there. And this one is after hours. 1st of March, 0015. And that's the reminder. I can't remember if we actually put reminder on there or not. The status is it's going to be ready to send. The list it's going to is MacBites. There's the mail. Drag and drop the mail. And that's me done again. So it really is that simple to send it. Now I'm having a look back to see what I actually did call them. Oh, I was spot on right. Wonders will never cease. And I've got 2 more to do. So I've got one going out on the 9th. So that's this one here, which I start my calendar on a Monday, and I'm convinced that that Saturday is a Sunday, but never mind. So after hours, and this one is on the 9th, 16, reminder. And the status is ready to send. The list is MacBites down to here. You're not, yes, you're the one. You're the one. Drag and drop that in there. And I've only got one more to finish. And that's me done with it. Right, which is the 15th, which is this one. So add another one, put in what it is. After hours 0017. No, that was 00. What happened there? 0017. Ready to send. List is MacBites. There's the mail. And we really are done. These things really are going to happen because they're on our mail manager now. They're actually on the mail manager. And that's it for me. So you've seen Mike's bit last time. His bit's always the same. He just takes that text, copies and pastes it and says, you're done. But that is how we created it. If I show you the other views now, so we go into MacBites Mail, you will only see the MacBites Mail, and you can see that they are month by month. So there they are, going forwards and backwards. But you could go into the all, get a list, and then you could filter that list. So if we go into filter, you could create a filter for where the list is MacBites, and it would only show you the MacBites Mail. And then you could save that as a view if you wanted. And that is how we actually create it. So this time, instead of just showing you, well, I just drag and drop and it just works, I actually showed you the Scrivener end, which is the business end. That's the tricky bit. That's the tricky bit at the Scrivener end. But once you've done it, it only needs doing once. The only time that end would ever need changing was if we decided to change the look of the mail, which, believe me, we're not doing. Not after all the work I've put into that, we're not. And it's that easy. We don't find that tricky. The good thing about that is, when it comes to send like the reminders, there were times, weren't there, Mike, when we were going live in 10 minutes and I'd say, have you got the mail? I don't know where to put it. Well, I shared it with you. Well, I can't find it. And that's why we built this thing. It was a good idea of mine, wasn't it? It was. Yeah. So that's the mail manager. Now, while I've got Notion open, there was another thing. Mail management in Notion. Yes. This week, Notion got a clipper. Now, when I very first mentioned Notion to you all, I said, people are saying it's a replacement for Evernote. And I was thinking, not on this planet, because it can do a lot. And if you were of the mindset to want it to replace Evernote, it could. But for most people, I would say no. Because they don't want to build something. They want a solution that's there. They don't want a Meccano set to come and build it. But now it's got a clipper, it might work better for some people. So let's have a look at the clipper. Now, my plan was with this. The other thing it got this week is you can work offline with it. Which obviously, if you think about Evernote's a problem if you can't work offline. Well, you can now work offline with it. Now, the clipper itself, if you think Evernote, OneNote or DevonThink, you're not far away. I would say it's not as fully fledged, but they are getting there. And you currently have two options. There is a Chrome extension that is the clipper. And I have it installed in here, which is why I am in Chrome. I actually do use Chrome as just a host for Notion. There is a Notion app, but I can't have multiple tabs. And as you can see, I have things open all of the time. It makes sense to me to have my inbox there all the time, my future log there all the time, my backlog there, the month, so that's my index to February, my week, today, my links database, and anything else I'm working on, which is all over here. So that's why I'm in Chrome, and I don't use Chrome for anything else other than my mail, my calendar, and Google Drive. So I don't actually use it as a browser per se, which is going to be a problem if I need to clip stuff, isn't it? Because the clipper is in here. Now, I have all my extensions hidden away, but there's the clipper. If you need that clipper, you can get it from that. Now, that's handy, isn't it? That's not great, is it, Mike? What I'll do with that, just to prove that I can, if I go into the after hours and I just stick it at the bottom there in show notes, Mike, you can share it with folk. Right, Mike can pick it up from there and share it with you because that's not exactly the best URL for talking about. So you install it as a Chrome extension on the desktop. Like I say, it does limit you to Chrome. Now, I know we've got Firefox users with us, and I'm a Firefox user. I tried manfully. You know the extensions where you can tell it to use Chrome extensions? So basically, you have an extension that lets you use Chrome extensions. I know it's all a bit meta. Didn't work. So I was very disappointed in that. If anybody's got it working, let me know. Absolutely let me know, because I would love to have this in Firefox. But at the moment, I'm living with it in here. Now, the other option you've got is on your iPad. So I'm against my better judgment, I'm going to attempt to show you my iPad and actually configure it. Now, the only thing that you need for this to work, so hopefully eventually my iPad will appear. I'm in the pitch dark and it's trying to do face recognition, but it's found me. Right, I'm going to mirror my screen. And there's my screen, there's my iPad. Let's make it bigger. Yes, my iPad's called Geronimo. I was hoping it'd be fast. Right, so let's move that onto there. Great. Now, what I've got down here, I have Notion down here. So what I did was I updated Notion. That's the only thing you need to do. You need to make sure you've got the latest version of Notion. I actually then did go into Notion, but you don't even need to go into Notion. Where you need to be is where you want to clip something from. And for me, that's going to be Firefox. So I went into it, and as you can see, I've got 2 tabs open. So it's having a think about it, logging in, having a look. Mike, don't forget to remind me about the calendar that I need to talk about, because it's not on my notes, so I will do. As you can see, we're all showed up to show 17, middle of March. It's a miracle. You are witnessing a true miracle. Right, and in there, that's just one page, but that's not the kind of thing I would want to clip. What I would much more rather clip was this blue cheese roasted asparagus. I think we shared with you what the issue was with the blue cheese roasted asparagus. Mike decided in a charity auction to bid for this Stilton cheese, which was about the size of Gibraltar and the Isle of Wight. And we were eating blue cheese for weeks, weren't we? So I needed to find some different recipes, and I found this one, and we like asparagus, and we did this one, and it worked out. That's my iPad going crazy. I have no idea why it did that. I didn't touch it. Oh, and now it's crashed. Air server, I hate you with a passion. Oh, let's try that again. That's even muted, and it started. I need to plug something in there. Shut it up. Oh, that's a good idea, isn't it? I'll shut it up just in case. Right, I've shut it up now. So hopefully that won't happen again. Let's try sharing it again. Screen mirroring. Right, you're back. Air server's just cranky at the minute, isn't it, Mike?
It is.
But we're using it because Reflector's even crankier. Right, so as I was saying, before I so rudely interrupted myself, I'm going to be very careful here. Right, I need that clipped, is the upshot of this. So in Firefox, I tap on the 3 dots at the top, and I choose Share Page With. And I actually have Notion listed, but if you didn't, you can go across to the More, and I actually found Notion all the way down the bottom under everything else. So it was all the way down the bottom there, just above Save PDF to iBooks. So you can tap at the end on the 3 lines and drag them up to the top, because this is the one I'm going to be using. The ones that I have chosen there, I was using the Clip to DevonThink option because I couldn't find another way. I might no longer clip to DevonThink, it's going to depend. But that's what I'll do there. You'll notice there's a lot of me's about. My iMac, my MacBook Air, my iPad. I've no idea which is which. But what I'm going to do is tap the Notion option and clip it to Notion. Now, in here, what you're changing at this stage in the middle, and where it says some oven there, give me some oven. Right, I don't really need that. So I'm changing the title here, but I will then put recipe. So that's where you change the title. Now, the most important thing is at the bottom where it says add to, and mine says links. Now, what on earth is links? It sounds as though that was there to start with, and it wasn't. If I tap on links, you can see that what I've got here is a database, and underneath it, it says new My Links database. Now, a My Links database is a new concept within Notion, and it's there to accept clippings that you make. But there's nothing to stop you, if you scroll down, saving it as a page in any one of your top level things either. But I do want it in My Links database. The reason I'm showing you this is, and it was called My Links originally, and I can't be doing without, it sounds like My Documents, which reminds me of Windows. So I changed the name to Links. But you could have it called clippings. You could have different links databases if you want. I'm actually contemplating having one for general stuff and MacBite stuff, although I could tag them at the other end. But at the moment, everything's going in one place and it's going in links. So I'll tap links, and that's what I've got at the bottom there. Now, if you, the first time you use it, don't have a My Links database, it will let you create one from here. And then all you need to do is tap save. And that's it. You have saved it, hopefully. So to have a look at that, we'll bring up Notion. And I'm on the shows page at the moment. So here's all our shows down there. And I need to go and find my links database. And my links database is... Where is my links database? I'm lying. Where is my links database? Let's go and search for it. I thought it was at a top level, but I'll type in links. And there's my links database. There it is. And at the very top of it is my blue cheese roasted asparagus recipe, as clipped. So this view that you're looking at here is not a view I've ever shown you in Notion. That is a list view. It's a little bit like a table, but much simpler to look at. All you can see is the date it was created across on the right-hand side and the title, and that's it. But tapping on that title will let you open that page. Once you get into the page, you can see what it's clipped as the title. Underneath you have when it was clipped, so when it was created. There is a tags option, which at the moment's empty because I haven't put any tags in there. But you've got the URL that it was clipped from, and you can add as many properties to this database as you like. It's completely up to you. But the interesting thing is none of that is it. It's down below there. What did it manage to capture? And as you can see, it's got all of the pictures. Don't they look absolutely beautiful? And it's got all of the text of the recipe. And it's brought in the bullet points. It's lost the adverts. Way happy about that, I can assure you. And there you go. So it's captured it perfectly. That is doing it on iOS. Obviously, the phone works exactly the same way. It's just that that is the iPad. So while it's feeling in a good mood with itself, I'll shove it to one side in case we need to go back to that. Because I'm next going into Notion on my desktop, which we've already been in half a dozen times, haven't we? Right, here it is. Let's take that full screen. So I installed the Clipper, but what I'm interested in, now I'm using the Clipper for virtually everything I'm clipping, I have it open in a tab. So when I go into there, it's already there for me, my blue cheese roasted asparagus recipe. And on here, I'd say it looks even better. There we go. There's my recipe in there. Now, what I'm going to do in here to show you how the Clipper works in here is actually go to that link, which I do at the end, open link. Now, you can see there's a lot of detritus on this page. I'm not interested in what on earth's that? Pepper something. No, I wouldn't be having noodles. So I'm not interested in anything else. I'm literally just interested in the recipe. So how do I clip it in here? Now, what I've done, you can see I like a very minimal interface to my browser. I do not like all of these things appearing, which they do as soon as I install. I actually installed Chrome on my new MacBook Air yesterday because I hadn't bothered. I use Firefox. But now I need it for the Notion Clipper. I was installing it. I went in, logged in to sync, and said, yes, synchronise everything, all my bookmarks, all my plugins, add-ins, you name it. And it did. And when I'd finished, the URL bar was about 1/2 inch long on the left-hand side because all of those things that I have hidden underneath the menu were stretched right across the URL bar, pushing it over to the left. And that's why I hide it. Luckily, the shortcut key that Notion have provided works perfectly, and I'm a keyboard girl. So Command, Shift and K, you see the Notion thing appear, the little icon, and it's going to let me capture it again. So this time I will put from Chrome on the desktop. Now, I don't like using the mouse when I'm clipping stuff. I need it to be fast. If I'm always clipping to my links database, that's already selected in the Add To option. And if you look there, you'll see it's says Command and Enter to save the page, which means if I'd have used Command Shift K, just change the name like I have done, and then Command and Enter, at this stage I haven't touched the mouse. And now it's saying open in Notion. Command and Enter again. Fantastic. Open that. Still not touched the mouse. And there's the page. Now we know that this is the one that I've selected from the desktop because we changed the name of it there. And it's done a very good capture of that straight from the desktop as well. So I'm thinking that's rather fantastic. If we go back to the links database, you can see it added the one from iOS and it added the one from Chrome. And as I say, whatever you want to do in here, you can do. So if you wanted to view this as a table, I have an all table that I've created. And it's got the URL in a column there, and it's got the tags. And if I want to add the tags in, I can. And I've got the created date. I can hide fields. I can do all sorts. I can filter for it, whatever I need to do. At the moment, I've only had this like 4 days. And it was just a case of just capturing what I wanted to capture to read later. So basically, these were all read later options for me. If I decide that those recipes need to be somewhere else, like in my recipes, which would make sense, wouldn't it? Let's just add in a page. So in my private stuff here, add a page only you can access. So I'll add a page and I will call this recipes and I'll make an empty page. And I'm going to make it a favourite so it appears at the top over here. And go back to my links database. So let's go back to my links. There's the links. All I need to do with this is drag that into the recipes. It takes it out of my links and it's put it in the recipes there. And I can click on that and there everything is. So I think that's fantastic. I'm liking that. I still think though, for a lot of people, would it replace Evernote? Well, it depends because it's going to clip into a database. And if you're used to organising by pages and notebooks, it might freak you out a little bit, unfortunately. For me, I much prefer this way of working. Much, much, much prefer this way of working. I struggled with Evernote for many years, but there was nothing better, so I stuck with it. But this works the way my brain works. So I'm happy with it. Your mileage may vary, but I'm very happy with it. So that's Notion. So let's get rid of Notion and let's go back into where we were. Next, we have the promised Affinity Designer to Affinity Publisher workflow. I was surprised with this one. I wasn't expecting it to be such a love fest. Situation is, I have a real file. Now, I stress the word real file because it's very easy if you're doing demos to make sure that everything works. And then you come to it in real life and it doesn't work at all. This is a real file. And it was... And Mike, how did it become a rush job this year? I can't remember, but it did, didn't it? Well, it wouldn't have been if there'd have been a draw in the FA Cup thing, but there wasn't. So it was a rush job. The worst case scenario. And I'd said to Mike in August when Publisher came out, oh, it's going to be fantastic this year because I'll have it in Publisher. And 2 days before it was needed, I did not have it in Publisher. That's where we're at. So let's go and have a look at the disaster that was. Right, this is the file I'm talking about. Mike's already mentioned the Munich 58 website. Well, part of what we do is we organise a memorial service underneath the clock. Well, actually, it's the plaque, the one you saw the picture of. Every year, twice a year, one on the nearest home match and one on the 6th of February, which is the actual anniversary. And United have kindly agreed to publish a brochure for us. They print it for us. I make it, design it, I send it off to their reprographics department. They print it. Thank God, because God alone knows how much it costs, for which we're very grateful. So this is last year's. It's 8 pages. It's A5-ish, just under A5 in size. Originally, at one point, it started life in InDesign. Luckily, it left InDesign behind itself. So last year was the first year it was in Affinity Designer. And there's no way to take an InDesign file and retrofit it into Designer. And that was what I needed to do. What I ended up doing was opening a PDF, and that's what you're looking at. I opened a PDF in Designer and it just worked. That was amazing in itself. So let's have a look what we've actually got here. We have page 1, which is the cover page. You will notice here that each one of these pages is on its own artboard. An artboard being a discrete area within Affinity Designer. But there's no concept in Affinity Designer of pages being like, this is a right-hand page and this is a left-hand page and I want you to print it this way. No. There's also no concept of exporting the entire set of artboards as one PDF. So when the time came to take this out of here, to get it off to United, it had to come out as 3 separate PDF files. 8 separate PDF files that I then had to manually merge together. I wasn't a happy bunny. So that's page 1. That's page 2, which is, if you think about it, the inside page of page 1. So this page is on the back of the page to its left. Then we've got some poems. So this is the first poem. On the inside, page 4 is part of the centre. If you can imagine opening this booklet, which got 8 pages, 4 and 5 are in the centre. And those are the 2 songs that we actually sing on the day. So that's why they're in the centre. Then we've got more poems. Then we have news about the website, information about the website. And then we have a copy of the first, it's the cover of the first programme after the disaster. Now, if you don't know anything about the disaster, this was the 22nd of February, so it was just under 2 weeks later. And United didn't have a team. 8 of the team had died. There was others in hospital, couldn't play. On the back of the programme, they used to put the team sheet, and United's was blank. It just had blank lines on it. And it was announced just before kick-off, and people wrote it in with a pen because the people had no idea who was playing. And that's the cover of that programme. Now, in this document, it forms the back cover. But there isn't a United fan who isn't familiar with that front cover of the programme. So that was my document, and I was in here with it. And I needed to do 2 things with it. This year, we've gone for 12 pages. So I needed to add 4 more pages. Not difficult in one way, because they're just other artboards. So we just add 4 more artboards. But it becomes more time consuming to output this, because then I'd have to merge 12 pages. The other thing that's a problem is which page is backing onto which page. Nightmare. But that was what I had to work with. Now, that was one thing I needed to do. The other thing I needed to do was, you've seen Mike schedule the tweets. And I said to him, don't keep scheduling tweets with just text. Nobody looks at them. We need graphics. And he said, well, I'll get some pictures. I said, no. We've got graphics. Leave it to me. But the graphics were in here. So if we think about it, that front cover would be a good graphic. And that bit there would be a good graphic. But I need to export those somehow on their own. Part of a page. Not the entire page, part of a page. Not great. So those were my 2 requirements. And here's how I went about doing it. Second one first, I went into the export persona. Now, we all know in the export persona, you can export artboards. Whenever I demo it, that's what we do. We export artboards. And you can see I've got 8 artboards. Page 1, 2, 3, which says what they are, through to 7 and 8. Artboards. And when I open these, they are going to export as PDFs. All of them. And that's not graphics, is it? That's not tweetable. That's not an image. But what you can actually do in here is you can add extra exportable elements, not based on artboards. So if we have a look at this first one, let's double click to get into it. This one here. At the side, you have the slice tool, you have slice selection tool, the view tool, and the zoom tool. But by default, the slice tool is selected. And when I move this over the page, I can actually create slices. So I don't want to draw that. I need to start out of the way with this. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a slice in here that's quite tight because I don't want the file to be that big. That's going around that and making sure we've got the logo in at the top. So it's not really all the page. It is slice 1, as the name says. And if we focus in on that there, it has a slightly different image. These little icons here mean that it is an artboard. That one there means it's a slice. So in there I would put cover, probably. And I'd open it up and export it. Now I could export it as a PNG. Not sure what size it would be. It's certainly way too big. If you look at the dimensions in here, 2291 by 2987. That's going to be far too big to upload to Twitter. But what I can do down here is put in, what width do you want this? 600 pixels would be fine. So if I just put 600W, 600 wide, I've said that will be 600 wide. And then all I need to do is go through it. Now I wanted to give Mike a selection of tweets. So again, I start on the outside and then crop it as tight as I like. If I go into it and try doing that, you see I move the slices. So there's my second one. That's saying slice 1. I'll call that accident. And again, I would probably want that as 600 wide. And then I would just go through and cherry pick other aspects of it, but I'm only picking certain bits. So start on the outside, come in there, down a fraction, bring it in, cut that off. Don't need all of that, just need it tiny, tiny. And we've got another slice 1, and that is tribute book. And again, I would probably have that, maybe 600 or 800, make that one 800 wide. And what I've done is I've not affected the output of the brochure in any way at all. I've just added in extra export options as slices. So when I've demoed this, I've never demoed that bit before. So that's a new bit. That's a new bit. I think then I actually did this back cover as well. And I kept that quite tightish, like that. So we could tweet that. And that one probably doesn't even need to be 600 wide. You can see what that is. Any United fan would know what that is. We'll put Nottingham Forest. Can't you tell my mum was a Nottingham Forest fan, Mike? I don't call them Notts Forest. She'd go spare. It's Notts County, not Notts Forest. Right, and that one needs to be, we'll say, might even get away with 400 wide with that. There we go. So, to export all of that lot, you've seen me export loads of times, but I'll do it for the sake of completeness. I'll do it. Export the 12 slices, and we'll put those on the desktop. We'll put them in a folder, Munich 58, and create and export. If I then move this slightly to the side, that should spring into view. There it is at the back. Open that up, and there are all my exports. So I've got the images for Mike to tweet. Those are those. So if I new folder and put tweetables, those are those images there. There they are. So I've actually taken those from artwork that was never intended to be output as artwork like that. It was intended to be a book, which is what I've got here. And as I said, what I then did with that output was take it, in fact, I can show you that as well. I'll show you that as well. Let's go into PDF Expert, opening up absolutely nothing. So let me open up that first one. That's a better bet, isn't it? Let's open up that file. So here's my PDF Expert. And try and put that where I can see it. Don't disappear off the screen. Don't do that. Right, in here, I can go into this view. In fact, you don't even need to be in that view, but it's handy if you are, because you can see where the pages belong. And then just drag and drop in my extra pages. And this was what I did last year. Like I said, then Mike would say, can we just have a change? And I'd have to do it all again. And he wasn't the most popular boy in the place. You get the idea. It's a little bit long-winded, and that's what publishers for. If you think about designer's not intended to make books. It's intended for artwork. But because it was all I had, that was what I used. And it can be done, as you can see. Now that works just like any other PDF file. So if I say fit page, I can scroll through it just like anything else. And you can see there are printer's marks on it. But you don't really want your printer's marks on your artwork. For this one, it doesn't matter. But generally speaking, you don't. But in Designer, there was no other way to do it. So that was how I used to do it. How did I do it this time? So let's get that back to full screen and back in here. Well, I looked at that and I thought, there's only 8 pages. You can do this, girl. You'll have to copy and paste. So as I'm sit here, I'm thinking, I'm pondering. And I'm pondering thinking I'll need to create a new Affinity Publisher file. And I'll need to give it 8 pages and a couple of background template pages. And I'll need to do this and I'll need to do that. And then I thought, just a minute. This file would open up in Affinity Photo. Don't know if you've ever tried that. But what I'll do with it is I'll do a save as. And I'm saving as so I can stick it on the desktop. And we can actually see it. And then I'll close Designer down. So this is my Designer file. And if I was to say open with, and I said Affinity Photo, despite it starting, well actually if it started life as an InDesign file that became a PDF that then became a Designer file. And now I can edit it in Affinity Photo. So you know what I'm thinking, aren't you? If I can open it in Affinity Photo, what would Publisher make of it? Now we have a phrase in the UK, a pig's breakfast, which means a mess, and that was what I was expecting. So right click, open with, and Affinity Publisher Beta was listed. So I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, just do it. And I did. And are you going to open? Don't make a liar out of me. Opening a non-beta document, blah, blah, blah. Yes, make a copy of it. It's probably a good idea anyway. At which point this message comes up. Well, it would, only it's spreading itself liberally across 3 screens here. Right, do you want to convert artboards to spreads? Well, I stopped and had a think about that. Spreads are Publisher beta language for pages. And I thought, well, yes. Because they are pages, if you think about it. Obviously in designers treating them as artwork, but they're pages. So I very bravely said yes. Go on, do it, I said. And it did that. And I thought, oh, look at that. Now, obviously, they're completely the wrong way around. I have no idea why it does that. That's the back page, not the first page. But I could forgive it that. I then put them in the right order, obviously. So if I drag this right down to the bottom, we'll meet in the middle in the end. But if I drag that one down to the end, and I drag... Oh, now what have you done? Oh, well, where have you put what here? Have I still got 8 pages? You should be at the beginning. Let's move them up one at a time. This was much easier, can I say, with my full res screen. I'm running at the moment a very tiny screen. But never mind, we'll get there in the end if I just keep juggling them, won't we? That one's towards the back as well. It's just in front of that one, actually. So where's the second one? That's page 2. So let's try and get it up there better. Right, so you're page 2. You don't want to be page 2, do you? I don't know why you don't want to be page 2, but you don't want to move around today. Ooh, maybe it's the resolution of the screen. I'm thinking it could be. Let's just shuffle these around and see if I can get them vaguely in the right order. I'm not particularly worried about the poems and stuff. As long as I've got the beginning at the beginning and the end at the end, I'll settle for that. I will settle for that. That doesn't look bad. This one's page 2 and doesn't want to be told otherwise, does it? Go on. Right, that's page 2. Fantastic. And I think the next one was actually that one. Well, we're getting to right here. And that one was there. Perfect. It's now perfect. So at this stage, I thought that's not at all bad. Because at least this way, when I add 4 extra pages, I'll know exactly that they're in the right place. I won't have to manually organise them. They'll be in the right place when I add the pages. More significantly than that, you saw how I had to make the PDF. Well, in here, if I go to File export, I get various options, but I also have PDF. And I can say all pages, and I can do an export. And I'm not being very clever at all here. I'm just sticking this on the desktop as Munich. And the benefit to me is it should be all the pages without me having to manually put them together. And there we go. So just for that alone, it was worthwhile. But obviously I could do a lot more with it in Publisher than I could do with it in Designer. But at this stage I was thinking, but what have I got? What have I got here? Is this editable? Is it a graphic? Is it vector? What is it? So I had to go and investigate. So if we start off on this page, which was page 2, everything was still editable. So if I decided I wanted to have that image slightly cockeyed and that one with it, I could do that. Every little element here, like these squares and stuff that I don't really need, can disappear. It's all editable. Obviously of more significance than making things turn round, which doesn't look great anyway. No, I don't want to scale it. I want to turn it back. There we go. Was the text. So I double-clicked on the text and the whole thing was editable. Even better than that, the editability of it was, as I said, we needed to add more pages. So hold the thought about the editability. I shall come back to that in a second. What we actually wanted to do was extend the text here. There's 2 columns of text and it finished there. We wanted a longer story, was what we wanted. So I needed a page after this that was a continuation page. Now that's relatively straightforward, just adding a page. That's not rocket science. I go up to the top of the Pages panel and click Add Pages. How many? Now what I did do was I said 4. And that was because I wanted to make sure I'd got the right number, otherwise the booklet wouldn't work. We'd have blank pages. But I'll just add the 1 at this point and I'll put it after page 2, which gives me a blank page. Now, if we imagine here that this text in this paragraph here is part of this story, and it is, but there is no link between this paragraph of text and this paragraph of text. So for instance, if I decided this is a bit small and I want that text to be a little bit bigger, so have it at say 9, I've instantly got a problem. The text is hanging out the end because there's no link between this frame and this frame. Because Designer doesn't do that, but Publisher does. So what I actually want is for the text to flow onto the next page. But what I can afford to do at this stage is take a copy of that text and then lose that completely. Take it out of the way. Because where it's going is, it's going in here. Just put that in and it's in there. Obviously it's hanging off the page now. It also indicates to you that you've got text that can't be seen. And how it's doing that is with this red thing here, little eyeball, red eyeball, telling you you've got overflow text. Well, actually that allows you, the red eyeball allows you to take it off. The arrow here would enable you to add an extra frame. Like that. Not the best size of font, I find. That's something to do with this being a beta. I did manage to fix it. I think I set it back to like 8 or 9 in here. As you can see, that didn't look fabulous. That's to do with this spacing over here. I had to manually change that as well. But you can see it is possible to link the text together, and I can just expand it. Now obviously there's far too much for that. It needs to go on to the next page, and I've no idea why we've got weirdness going on here either. I'm guessing that's because it's come from Designer. But what I can do in here, as I'm changing the size of this, which is not necessarily making it look any better, but I do have to change this over here as well at the same time, so we'll do that. Right. This frame here, I actually want on another page. I want it on this page down here, but I can do that. And it doesn't matter that that's separated. I've got an extra line of text there. Look at that. I've just caught you displaying at less than 2 points, which is not helpful to me. And I will do that and set up this over here, which hopefully will deal with it. It's not selecting it. This was a problem. This I'm assuming this is because it's a beta. But what I did was take the whole lot out to a text file and bring it back in, and it was fine. But the benefit of it is, if I go up here, you've just vanished as well now. Where's that one gone? Oh, it's not behaving itself. Don't like beta software when it does this kind of stuff. But the basics of what I'm saying is, it can flow across pages in here. It can't even flow across frames in Designer. And that was one of my main reasons for getting it in here, to add these extra pages. A couple of other points to make as well. Now this, you can fix this in Designer, but if you look at the text I've got here, it's going across the image. Well, you do have wrap options. Now, did I get to them from there, or did I do this up here? Text wrap settings there. And I wanted the text not across the image. So I would say I wanted it to jump the image, or I wanted it to be tight to the image, or I wanted it around the edge of the image. That's fine, because if I say none, it goes across the actual image. If I say tight, it goes around the image. So that was another thing that I could do with it there. And the last thing that I wanted to do with it was, if I'm going to create more pages, and remember my original brief, I needed to add 4 pages. So when I go to the add pages, I need to add 3 pages after page 3. And that gives me my 12 pages. The problem with that is, if I want them to look similar to this one, this part here, this black frame, it doesn't make sense to duplicate it all the time. So if I just take, in fact, and the other thing was the Munich at the bottom, that and that. So I'm selecting everything I need here, and hopefully just getting that black thing. You're not letting me get that black thing. You're in a group, aren't you? Let's try that. That looks hopeful. So I've copied those elements, and rather than paste them 3 times onto pages 4, 5 and 6, it made sense to me to create a new master page, which was, let's call it plain. Plain with watermark, whatever you want to call it. And there is my template. Paste that in there. Heaven knows where the fill was on that. Let's take that round, that's better. So with that as my master page, what I can do in here, I'll do it by dragging and dropping it. So there's page 4. I just drag my master page onto page 4, drag it onto page 5, and drag it onto page 6, and I'm good to go. And I don't have to worry about moving this or deleting it or anything else. It's on a master page. And my entire document has then got all my 12 pages, and all I need to do is finish the job. And finish the job I did. Where is the finished job, Mike? Did you put it on the website? Or would I have to dig it out? And if I have to dig it out, where would I dig it out from? Did I put it in the black hole? Yes, but where? Oh, if you will file things where they should be. No wonder I can't find them. Right, let's have a look at that then. Where did I put that? I'm in the wrong folder. I'm getting there, I'm getting there. I'm in my projects. I'm in Munich. Oh, isn't he organised? Look at this. Brochure. So this is the finished brochure that went off to Manchester United for printing. So it looks pretty similar at this point, but you'll see the text has... We've taken away the extra columns there and taken that down, but the story continues on the next page. So all of that was added to it. Then we had some stuff for the 60th, which was obviously last year. So this was another one of the extra pages. This was another one of the extra pages. Our good friend the singer. And towards the back, oh, that was a new one as well, wasn't it? Or did we just make that bigger? The Flowers of Manchester one, I think we made that a little bit bigger. I took that away from, it was sharing a page with these bits here, so I separated those and flipped them around. It makes more sense to talk about the website before we talk about the tribute book, so we did. Then another song, then another poem, the other poem, so we put the poems and songs at the back this time, and then we finished off with that. And that is the exact file that went off for printing. What I'll do next week, because I haven't got set up for a camera tonight, unfortunately, because we've packed up for I'll explain all that next week as well. So distinct equipment shortage to my hand at the moment. But what I'll do next week is I will show you a printed copy of that, because we've got a few, haven't we, that we'll have to take back on the 6th. And you could put your link into the video so they could see that. So that was a real job that I contemplated taking into publisher, and I decided against it because I thought I cannot afford any mistakes with this. So I dare not do it this time. As you can see, that was dated the 20th of January. I think the cut-off point for printing was like the 21st. And I thought I can't afford any mistakes. And no matter how hard you try, you'll put something together like this and there'll be a spelling mistake or something just not lined up. And I thought, I can't do it. I can't do it. Yes, you get to see Mike as well. He introduced the whole thing. But once I'd opened it, I thought, well, actually, there's no scope whatsoever for mistakes. It's just converted what was artboards into pages. Where can you go wrong? I just added in the extra ones that I needed and was incredibly careful about spellings and things like that. And I'm hoping they proofread it before they printed it. But we've now got about 500 of them for the next event. So let's head off back into here. Our next one, I said next week, and I really, really meant next week. There you go. It's next week, but it's Saturday. There is a reason. I'll explain that on Saturday. But it's Saturday, so don't forget. No, it's Saturday. It's the same time. It's on this channel, so same place. But it's Saturday. So we're probably, with some stuff we've got coming up, be possibly alternating between Friday and Saturday. But if you can't do Saturdays, then there's always the replay. You need to tell us what's the best day. What's the best day? Because obviously you've got stuff to do on a Friday and we've got some stuff to do on Fridays that just can't be moved. And Saturday may or may not be a better day. I don't know. You need to let us know. You absolutely need to let us know. So, are we going to say what we're doing next week? Because that's very vague, isn't it? I'll talk about that now. Good thinking, talking about it at that point. Good job, you've got a memory, isn't it? Yes. Right. What I'll do at this stage is I'll come out and I'll show you something. Where was Chrome?
Something to eat.
Not yet. Calm down. Not yet. I'm going to go to MacBites. We've got something new. If you've been with us a while, you'll know we had a MacBites calendar. It was an iCloud calendar. To say it doesn't work properly is an understatement. Well, they unilaterally changed the link to it, which broke everything. It didn't work for you. You said, I've got no MacBites on here, which isn't together a surprise. But in this circumstance was, because he should have had. So basically, it stopped working. So what we've done on the After Hours page, we have put, and we've got a calendar page as well, but on the After Hours page, we have embedded a calendar. Look at that. Oh, week off. 22nd, 23rd. Yeah, there's a respite for you all. Right, but if you look on here, you will see all of the After Hours. Extra benefit of which is you've got a link to the actual page from where you can watch it. You can even add it to your calendar. But better still, you can subscribe to this calendar. Who wouldn't want to subscribe to the calendar? You click the button at the bottom to add it to your calendar. But what you can do in here is you can see right up to where we're scheduled to, which is the 15th of March. So I suggest you really do subscribe to the calendar. It's the same calendar now. We only have the one calendar. I've just realised, Mike, the calendar's not in the menu. So you'll have a hard job getting there, won't you? But we do have a dedicated page for the calendar. And if we had it in the menu, you'd be able to get to it. It's all organised this, you know. Mike, deal with that. This is the calendar here. So all you need to do is click on that and it will also subscribe you. If you copy that link and you paste it into your calendar of choice, be it Apple Calendar, BusyCal, wherever, you can subscribe to it. And that way you will be the very first to know when we've published it. Well, this isn't going to fit on there, really, is it? Do you have it under our story? On the basis it's the only place it'll go. I'll make a block for it somewhere. It'll be fine. But at the moment, if you type in calendar, you'll get there. But you don't have to worry about it because you can do all of that from the After Hours page, which I've just clicked. There we go. There we go. It's all in there. So you can follow along from there, or you can subscribe from there. And what we'll put on it is the MacBites After Hours, the MacBites Lives. We are but 6 to 7 weeks away from a potential Apple event. Is the bank balance ready? Doubt it. Credit card isn't. Still in the freezer from the last outing. But we will put the MacBites Lives on there. And we'll put the MacBites Learning stuff on there too when we ramp that up again. So everything MacBites will be on that calendar. So you don't want to not be subscribed, do you? You absolutely want to be subscribed. We'll put a link in one of the upcoming mails as well. But you get first dibs. Tonight you get first dibs because it's there now. So feel free to subscribe. Right, I said next week was a bit on the vague side, didn't I? But we have got a couple of ideas, a couple of suggestions. So we want a yay or a nay from you. Oh, that's the wrong post-it note. This will teach me to run things from post-it notes. Right, Mike knows what he's doing. He's doing Being Productive Action Tracker. That's his much lauded action tracker, isn't it? That most people can't get their hands on fast enough, Mike. So he's doing that. He's starting off with that. Now, me, I could do all sorts. So I want to know your thoughts if I just read a few things out, like good reader. Graham, still awake? Good reader? I think Graham should share with us how he uses good reader, because I know he's got a whole workflow going on there. So I think, Graham, written's fine. I need to know. Also, that came out new this week, version 5. Been a long time. So I could look at good reader. Another one that came out about 8-9 days ago is Good Notes. They've no right to come out at the same time. Same version number as well, you know. And I'm constantly making a mistake between the two. Like someone who should be wearing bobbly slippers and fingerless gloves. Good Notes. Good Notes is a note-taking app for iPad. I stress for iPad. Which I adore. I think it's really good. Now, Graham uses Notability. I have tried the two, and I could see the benefits of Notability, particularly in the management options for the notebooks. But for some reason, I just keep going back to Good Notes. I don't know what it is. I just do. I think it's the pages thing. You get this scrolling endless page in Notability, whereas when I'm taking notes with my pencil, I'm thinking in terms of static page, not scrolly pages. So I do keep being drawn back to Good Notes. So I could also show you Good Notes. Excellent, Graham. Excellent. I need to know exactly how you're using it. Because I know you once sent us, I think it was in, must have been about a new iPad in a MacBites Live. You sent an image, a screen cap of all the stuff. It was like, whoa, Graham has got an entire workflow going on here. And I looked at mine and thought, bit on the sparse side. So I know that you've got fantastic things happening. So you need to share fantastic things. Oh, by the way, do you know I haven't published that blog post yet? I don't know what it is with me with writing blog posts and then not actually publishing them. The review of the year, which we did last Saturday. Right, there is a blog post to go with the review of the year. And once I've corrected the spelling mistakes I noticed afterwards, I will publish that. Brace yourselves, just come out of here again, the blog on MacBites. Now, Graham, don't blink. In fact, everybody else might need to put sunglasses on. We have had blog posts over the years, but we never actually had a place where they were all together. So we've put a blog on MacBites. Talk about productive. We're doing amazing this year, aren't we? Talk us up, because we need talking up on this. We've got this blog. So we will be posting things on it. The last thing that was on it was from Graham. I'm thinking, Graham, you may not have seen the show art for that show, but you've got a blog post on MacBites. And with it is the BotBot song, which is there for your listening pleasure. So we do have this blog that we will be putting things on. So if you send in your workflow, Graham, there you go. Place on the blog. Crying out for you. Can't say fairer than that. And you know, when you go out of your way to send us things like the BotBox song, look at the artwork I create for you to support it. You can't say fairer than that, can you? So you use Notability, but very sparsely. Well, I may be able to tempt you with that then. So let's say we'll look at some good software. We'll look at both of those. There you go. Oh, that's pretty much organised then, isn't it? And we will have an unboxing, which we haven't got tonight because the video stuff's in a bag. We will explain more about that, but there will be an unboxing. I've got rather a sexy demo. Now, if only I could find 14 days in a week, I might get around to doing all of these sexy demos. But I will try, I promise. I promise. So, if you want to contact us, you can contact us via any of those methods. Now, Paul surpassed himself this week. Do you know there's a way of contacting us that we've never mentioned? That's so simple, it's frightening.
What?
No, because they're on there. Just hit reply on all these mails we're sending out. Who knew? Which Paul managed to do twice. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. So when you subscribe to the mail, which, you know, you subscribe to the mail, aren't you? Of course you are. Of course you are. Just hit reply and tell us what you think, what you'd like to see. I've not forgotten Devon Think, Graham. I have not forgotten Devon Think. I'm pondering Devon Think. It's a lot to it, really, isn't there? So I might have to approach that from one of a few angles. But I thought we could get some nice shorter demos out of Goodreader and GoodNotes. I could do some comparing with Notability. Notability is great. I do like it. It's just this scrolly page thing. But if I show you what I do with GoodNotes, then you might understand why. Because I have sort of things that I fill in. I actually make notebooks with spaces in for me to put specific things. So each notebook becomes more like a document. So I don't tend to treat it as a limitless notebook. It'll be a notebook to... one of the things I do is I take the minutes at the governor's meetings that I go to. I'm a governor at a local school. And I do the minutes for one of the committees. So when I go, instead of just having blank page after blank page after blank page, I have a little book, a little PDF book that I've imported into GoodNotes. And it's already pre-populated with page numbers, you name it, it's got it. And then all I need to do is scribble the stuff down in it. And because of that continually scrolling thing doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. But I will this week endeavour to have a look if I can make it work. And if not, then we'll have a look at GoodNotes and we'll do it that way. That's what we'll do. So we need to hear from you. You need to tell us what you want to see. Other than that, we will be back next week. But it's Saturday. It's Saturday the 9th. We might even have some video to share with you. You never know. You never know. Because there's some excitement this week, which we're going to share with you next week. Do you know, I've just noticed something, Mike. And it's a bit scary. My mouse pointer's alive in Keynote, and I thought your mouse pointer wasn't alive in Keynote. That was the whole point. You couldn't see it. And yet I'm seeing it on here, even though I'm showing slides. Which isn't the smoothest experience, is it, if I'm not actually clicking anywhere? So I've moved it. But you didn't used to be able to see it. But I also noticed the darn thing just faded out as well. Of course, when it comes back, it'll be somewhere else. Yes. So, Simple Note syncs with Android phone. I use Simple Note, Graham. And do you know why? Synchronises with Windows. That was of more significance when I was using a physical Windows box. But yes, I use Simple Note. And I would, you're right, synchronise it with Android. Other than that, if I want to synchronise little notes, and I'm not thinking about Windows, I use Drafts. Do you use Drafts on any iOS, anything iOS-ish? There is a desktop version available now. It's not anywhere near as fully functional as the iOS version. But in terms of, it basically does what Simple Note does, but with added organisation. You've got tagging, you've got grouping, you've got all kinds of things. And then when you get it on your iPad or your iPhone, you can do all kinds of things with it with actions. So, but in concept, it's basically Simple Note. What was the other one I was using for that?
Note system.
What, you don't use it?
No.
Go on.
No, I have a piece of paper. Then if I put it in my pocket, I can access it from anywhere I've got those trousers on.
Yes. But if it goes in the wash...
What do you know about wash?
No idea. But I believe when things go in the wash, they don't come back again, because when my father used to leave tissues in his pocket, my mum said they were all over the washer. And I just said, okay, mum, whatever. I didn't get into the vagaries of it. No. If she wanted them extracting with a screwdriver, I was your woman. If she wants to debate how a washer works, I'm not her woman. Not at all. I see Graham uses drafts as well. Have you got the Pro Pack, Graham? The Pro Pack gives you access to the beta version on desktop. Mike's got the standard version, so he hasn't got the desktop version, which to me ruins it. When the new version of drafts came out, I was all over it, and I was like, yes. Then I had a problem. The more I used it, the more I wanted to use it, and the more limiting it became that it wasn't available on desktop. So once the beta came out on desktop, now it's how I transfer things between the two. I've started putting some stuff on Instagram. And Instagram, working with your phone and that, because there's none of the desktop clients are any use at all. It's tricky because you've got to get to the image and then you've got the text. And of course, it works on hashtags. And I don't want to sit there on my phone tapping away at it like a manic woodpecker, putting in all these hashtags. So if I write it on the desktop and I put it into drafts, I get it over there and I'm good to go. I can just swipe from... Now, I have to be careful here because one's Tinder. But no, I swipe from right to left, not the other way. I don't know. Not Tinder. But I swipe one way or the other and I can copy this thing and then I can go straight into Instagram and send it. I use version 4, didn't use it that much, to be honest, and I use version 3 as well. 5 is a different beast. It could actually replace Ulysses at a push. You just have to manually create the exports. But you saw what we did with Ulysses. We pushed that as far as it can go as well. You may have noticed today there were 4 or 5 posts, Mike? I think it was 5. 5 posts went up on MacBites and they were the after hours that we were publishing. And every one of those came from Ulysses. So it was just a case of copy, paste, create a new one, change what needed changing, and then publish. I could show you that, but I'm on the beta and I don't know if I'm allowed. Because it's now publishing to Gutenberg in blocks. He's not doing bad doing that either. But it takes seconds. But you could, if you wanted, replace... Because Ulysses is plain text and Drafts is plain text. And it does support Markdown. It's possible. It's possible. Now, is it any cheaper? I think it's $17.50 a year, didn't we say, Mike? And Ulysses is 20... Is it 30? No, I think it... Well, mine's $26.99. I think you paid more because you weren't grandfathered in. So it's around the £30 mark. So it's about half. But if you don't want to pay... I would say if you don't want to pay a subscription, but to be honest, you don't really need the subscription. Mike's used it quite happily. No subscription. It's really only if you want to customise it in any great way, shape or form. But I tried it. I thought I would like to customise it, and I do think it's worth it. So I paid the sub for it. But yeah, version 4 is pretty good as well. What are you pondering? You're pondering your stomach, aren't you? No. Pondering something to eat. Oh, you're not having any more? Oh, I am. I, Graham, am going to have something to eat. Now, what's the something I'm going to have to eat? Fruit. Oh, it's healthy again. It's fruit. But I'm going to have some nuts with it. My favourite nuts, which are cashews. And some of those other things, the brown ones. What are they? Peanuts. Dry roasted, they're the ones. Dry roasted peanuts, there you go. So that's today's treat. Once Graham lets me know what his treat is, we can all go off and eat the treats. Although, we must take a picture of that for Graham. We have for tomorrow, flapjack, Graham. Don't know how good it is, but it's flapjack. So that is a bit of a treat, because it's the nearest I really get to cake, isn't it? Oh, we need to tell Graham about that dessert we had. We went to this posh do, wasn't it? And there was a selection of desserts, and I said, oh, and he's had a cherry bakewell. I'm not into cherry bakewell, so you're quite entitled to that, Graham. I won't bother you for that. But one of the desserts was an eaten mess. And I said to Mike, oh, don't make a fuss about getting a fruit salad. I'll have the eaten mess. Can't go far wrong with an eaten mess, can you? There's strawberries, there's cream, and there's a meringue. Yes, only this one was more strawberries and cream.
One strawberry.
One strawberry and cream. So Mike thinking, oh, I'll be all right with this. I'll give Elaine the fruit. Gives me his strawberry. At which point he basically eats a bowl of cream because there was absolutely no meringue in it. Everybody wanted the damn thing x-rayed. He's like, you got any meringue? No. You got any meringue? There was no meringue in that. I don't know where the meringue went. But what can I say? So that's what tonight's treat's going to be. It is a little bit late, I'll grant you, Graham, but I'm still going to partake of this fruit. If it kills me, I'm going to eat it. But for now, that is good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
Do you want to actually talk to the microphone so they can hear you?
It's good night from me.
And we will both
see you next time.
Good night, guys. Keep your eye out for that MacBites.